How about them Cowboys?
Angry Cowboys Fan. Born to battle. Stone just means we never sell. America's team through thick and thin. When the sun shines bright, that's where we win. Angry Cowboys Fan.
What's going on, Cowboys Nation and Angry Cowboys fans around the world? Y'all know who it is. It's your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan and Cowboys Nation. This defensive coordinator coaches search is getting pretty interesting, to say the least. In my research, I've learned a lot on the defensive side of the ball. After watching Rex Ryan's clinic, as well as the clinic from another big name in our coaches search, I'm starting to lean in one direction, but I'll keep my eyes open and I'll continue to do my research. But the name that I'm talking about in this video is of assistant head coach and defensive passing coordinator for the Denver Broncos, Jim Leonhard. I warn you, Cowboys Nation, this video is going to be a little bit longer than the normal videos, but if you want to learn a thing or two about the potential defensive coordinator for our Dallas Cowboys, continue to watch this video, hit that like button, and buckle up as we dive into the philosophy and scheme of Jim Leonhard. So we're going to keep the normal Angry Cowboys fan format, which means I'm going to give y'all 3 clips from the defensive clinic conducted by Jim Leonhard, and then you know what we're going to do after that. We're going to come back and unpack this raw and uncut. So, Angry Cowboys fans, let's take a listen to Jim Leonhard during the WFCA clinic while Leonhard was the defensive coordinator for the Wisconsin Badgers.
The next aspect of this is goals, right? Everyone has goals. I think it's very important to know what your standards, what your goals are, and with your kids, they have to be a part of this process of setting them. Your core beliefs, they don't need to be a part of that. They need to buy in, right? If they're a part of that, great. But a lot of that has been set in your programs for years and years. But now the standards, maybe it's within a defense, your standards within your individual unit, the DBs in my case. What your goals and standards are, that has to come from them.
What your goals and your standards are have to come from your players. I mean, I love his philosophy when it comes to team building, Cowboys Nation. It's all about the players on the squad. His focus are on the defensive backs. You know, seeing that he played safety during his college and his pro years, I understand why the DBs are his primary focus. But he loves to develop man defense, but is fluid, and that gives his squad a tactical advantage. He's the exact opposite of what we had when it comes to Matt Eberflus being the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. He does exactly what I want him to do as a defensive coordinator, and that's to adjust his scheme and his game plan to the players on the team and to their strengths. But let's go ahead and jump into the second clip because I'm going to have a lot to say during this raw and uncut.
All the great teams that I've been around, the players ran the team. The coaches mediated. They kept things within the lines. That's about it. Step in when you have to. I've been on a lot of good teams. Those were the great teams. A lot of good teams, coaches directed, it wasn't buy-in from the players. So you have to try to find and walk that line. You're dealing with a little bit younger kids, but you have to develop that, right? That's how you get kids to mature, is through ownership. So academically, once again, our guys, my DBs like to set the bar pretty damn low academically. I'm not going to lie to you. They like to walk that line pretty tight. But now we know. I know what to coach them to, right? I know what to coach them to. It's the same thing on the field. I can have a lot of goals. We can go off of what we've done in the past, but to me, the number one thing is that ownership, right? It's your group. It's your team. What do you want to be? What are your goals? And then really making that plan, helping them develop the plan on how to get there.
All right, Coach Leonhard said, all the great teams that I've been around, the players ran the team. The coaches mediated. Coach Leonhard spoke about the number one thing being ownership, and this is something that our defense missed last year, Cowboys Nation. Ownership of their positions and ownership in discipline. As everyone's fully aware, Our defense was very undisciplined during the 2025 season. Discipline is not a talent, which means it can be instilled in a player's mind by the level of commitment that player has. The level of commitment comes from the coaching staff and how the player is being coached up. Listening to this clinic and other defensive videos from Jim Leonhard, I feel that he wouldn't have an issue instilling this type of belief system into the minds of the defensive players on the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, we're going to get to the nitty gritty during the Raw and Uncut portion, so make sure you stick around for that. Now let's go ahead and jump into the third clip from Coach Leonhard's defensive clinic so we can come back and unpack this Raw and Uncut.
The number one thing to me is the players. Has to be directed from them. Like I said, you're guiding them, you're helping them, push them down the right path. Hopefully over the last 2 years, those leaders in the room kind of know what we're looking for, right? You hope that's the case, but it has to be directed from them. They're going to lead it. In our case, we got to recruit the right kids that are going to take that. They're going to take that mentality, which goes a little bit to my recruiting speech. All these kids, I wouldn't be recruiting a kid if I don't think he's good enough, right? So the talent level is there. The thing that I push with our guys is I believe, once I find out the right information where I'm willing to pull the trigger, I believe you can come into my room and change the culture for the good. You can change the culture. Talk that with the kid, talk that with the parents. That's it. That's what I push. We're going to develop you. I'm going to make you a better leader. I'm going to make you a better person. Oh yeah, by the way, you're going to be a damn good football player as well. But it all comes back from that. And it hits them on that personal level like I talked about before. Well, if they're messing up, their words and their actions are not matching, it all comes back to that conversation. Remember the first time we talked, this is what we talked about. I think you can make this program better. I think you can make the team and the locker room better. You're not doing that right now.
Cowboys Nation, if you go back and you watch this entire defensive clinic, Coach Leonhard speaks about leadership, and he speaks about the team picking the leaders and not the coaching staff picking the leaders. And I believe that is extremely important for the continuity and for the glue of the locker room. But the number one thing is the players. I love hearing that, Cowboys Nation. That is a breath of fresh air for us. Coach Leonhard has the philosophy that it's all about the players and not about his scheme alone. That he's not just trying to fit players into his scheme, that he's going to fit his scheme around the players. We all know that wasn't the philosophy for Matt Eberflus during the 2025 season. But anyway, Cowboys Nation, let's go ahead and get into this. Y'all ready for this Raw and Uncut? Y'all ready? Let's get it. Get ready for the Angry Cowboys fans. Raw and Uncut.
I'm keeping it real. They keep it real. That's real.
I tell you, Cowboys Nation, I love what I heard during this defensive clinic from Coach Leonhard. I love the fact that the players are the most important piece to his defense. It's not his defensive philosophy. It's not his defensive approach. It's the players on the defense. This shows me that Coach Leonhard is fluid with his teaching and can work with the players that he's given as opposed to looking inept out on the field because he's missing pieces. This is the textbook example of being able to make lemonade out of lemons. You know, Cowboys Nation, I did a video yesterday where the guys over on 105.3 The Fan spoke about everything that the Dallas Cowboys are missing on the defensive side of the ball. I honestly believe that we're not missing as much as they say that we're missing, but hey, who am I, Cowboys Nation? We are missing not players, but we're missing the coach that can coach the defensive side of the ball up. They spoke about needing defensive backs. When you have a coach who played the safety position and defensive backs are his primary focus, I feel that Coach Leonhard will be able to extract more out of our current defensive backs instead of going out and trying to just flip this entire defense. He'll be able to scheme our DBs to place them in more advantageous scenarios out on the field, something that Matt Eberflus was unable to do. So when it comes to Eberflus, maybe the guys over at 105.3 The Fan is correct. But when it comes to Coach Leonhard, I don't think they are, Cowboys Nation. But Coach Leonhard specialized in giving defensive players schemes that they can actually execute with no issue while also adding things to their plate once they show that they can handle what he gave them. He's also a great teacher, something that Brian Schottenheimer said is key in this coaching search. Also, if you watch the defensive clinic that I took these clips from, you will see his ability to teach firsthand. But as far as his overall scheme and watching different film, also doing the research on what Coach Leonhard prefers to do, the word that kept popping up was aggression. And that matches perfectly with what Brian Schottenheimer wants to do. That matches perfectly with Schotty's philosophy for the overall Dallas Cowboys team. Coach Leonhard's defense was labeled aggressive. They attacked opposing offenses with pressure and exotic blitz packages. They would simulate pressure by sending linebackers while dropping defensive ends into coverage. He worked out of the 4-3 defensive scheme while also incorporating the 4-2-5 hybrid look with a single high safety to disguise coverages while also confusing opposing quarterbacks. Other words that kept popping up while researching Coach Leonhard was adaptability and flexibility. His scheme can transform from a 4-man front to a 5-man front without switching out the personnel, Cowboys Nation. Cowboys fans saw how the 5-man front helped the Dallas Cowboys defense last year. I believe it would continue to help this defense considering the players that we have at defensive tackle. The adaptability aspect helps with in-game adjustments, Cowboys Nation. A coach with the ability to see what the opposing offense is running and adjust to combat their scheme? That's the type of coach that we want with the Dallas Cowboys. It just felt that the game plan that Matt Eberflus brought to the game was the game plan that we were going to stick with throughout the game, which didn't help our defense one bit, Cowboys Nation. But the versatility, the adaptability, as well as the flexibility can keep the Dallas Cowboys defense unpredictable to opposing quarterbacks. But does this mean that the Dallas Cowboys defense will have to switch to the 3-4 style overall? Not necessarily, Cowboys Nation. This is where the flexibility and the adaptability comes into play. We might see the 3-4 look during one series, but then move to the 4-3 look or the 4-2-5 look in another series. We may come out in a 3-4 look, but blitz out of the 5-man front or just send 4. We all know that football is a game of chess, and if a defensive coordinator can keep the opposing offensive coordinator guessing, the defensive coordinator is doing his job correctly and efficiently, Cowboys Nation. But one thing that I'm happy about is that the Dallas Cowboys are sending a wide net to cast out into this coaching search. They didn't just interview 3 potential coaches and then hire Aaron Whitecotton. They've been super diligent in this coaching search, and they continue to keep looking. Some people are angry with the fact that the Dallas Cowboys haven't interviewed Brian Flores. You know, it kind of resembles that anger that a lot of Cowboys fans had during the head coaching search. People were mad that Jerry and Stephen Jones didn't go after the marquee names that were available like Coach Prime or Bill Belichick. People were mad that we didn't acquire the marquee names in the running back position when we were looking for a running back. Now they're mad that the marquee name hasn't been interviewed for the defensive coordinator position. And I'm not going to say that those fans are wrong about being upset for the lack of interviewing Brian Flores. All I can say is that I'm not angry with the decision because I'm not going to get my hopes up on any marquee names. At the end of the day, it's up to Jerry Jones to hire the new defensive coordinator. But we saw during that end-of-season press conference that Brian Schottenheimer was, once again, not the one who would be making the decisions. That the ultimate decision maker would be, and it has always been, Jerry Jones. He said it himself, Cowboys Nation. He runs Venezuela, which means he's making the ultimate decision on who the defensive coordinator will be for the Dallas Cowboys 2026 season. That doesn't mean that Brian Schottenheimer's soft, or that doesn't mean he's a bitch either. I'm sorry, Cowboys Nation, but not one person who has an employer is going to go in there and tell their employer what to do. It's just nonsensical, Cowboys Nation. But sure, Brian Schottenheimer had to run with Matt Eberflus, but what else was he going to do, Cowboys Nation? Tell Jerry Jones you can either bring who I want in or I quit? Come on now, we got to get real with that scenario. But as much as we want to believe that Jerry and Stephen Jones are going to do something different, I'm still holding on to things that they've done in the past to this very day. I don't expect them to hire the marquee name, and I don't expect them to go out and sign the biggest names in free agency. I expect them to do exactly what they've been doing until they show me different. And as far as Brian Flores, if the Dallas Cowboys can hire Coach Leonhard, he might be the closest thing to a Brian Flores style of defense that Cowboys Nation's gonna get. The way he speaks, it has the same philosophy as Brian Schottenheimer and will be able to fit well with this Dallas Cowboys coaching staff. But one thing that I would ask is if Coach Leonhard is hired to be the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator, will he be bringing in a completely different staff, or will he be hiring from within? You know, somebody like an Aaron Whitecotton. Whoever Jerry, Steven, and Shotty decide to bring on board, I just pray they are light years away from where Matt Eberflus had this defense for the 2025 season. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan. Cowboys Nation, what do you think about Coach Jim Leonhard being the defensive coordinator for our Dallas Cowboys? Are you Brian Flores or bust? Y'all know how we do. We always talk about it in the comment section. If you're digging this channel and you want to help the channel reach its current goal of 20,000 subscribers, drop a like on this video, share this content with anybody that you know is a Dallas Cowboys fan, and if you're on your mobile device, make sure you hype this video. Doing so can help the Angry Cowboys Fan YouTube channel reach even more Dallas Cowboys fans so we can root on our Dallas Cowboys together. And if you are DC for life and you want our defense to be in the top 15 next year, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell to be notified whenever I go live, release a video, podcast episode, or film breakdowns. You can catch my Madden 26 and College Football 26 gameplay on the new channel, the Angry Cowboys Fan Gaming Channel. I'll put the link to that in the description. I advise any Dallas Cowboys fan who's interested in hearing Coach Jim Leonhard's philosophy that you just go over and watch WFCA's defensive clinic that he was a part of. I'll put the link to that full video in the description. But real talk, Cowboys Nation, just because Jerry, Steven, and Shotty or the Dallas Cowboys front office don't go for the huge marquee names in this defensive coordinator search doesn't mean that they're less serious about winning. It doesn't mean that Brian Schottenheimer's a soft head coach. Fans are able to think and feel the way they want to about the situation, but in my eyes, just because the Dallas Cowboys decide to go in a different direction than the highly sought-after name that fans want them to get, doesn't mean that our upcoming season is going to be doom and gloom. It doesn't mean that our defense is going to end in the bottom three again. So I'm here to give whoever they bring in at the defensive coordinator position a chance to turn this defense around. With Coach Leonhard, at least I know that our secondary is going to be much better than it was last year, and aggression will be at the forefront of our defense as well as our offense. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan, and I'm out. Dang, Angry Cowboys Fan, you done made it through the entire video. But if you want more content, you can definitely go to this video right here. Or if you want the latest episode of the Angry Cowboys Fan podcast, you can go right here. But whatever you do, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, but remain DC for life.